We are going to go ahead and get started, just so we be cognizant of everyone's time here this evening. Just want to start out by thanking everyone for coming. My name is Mark Lyons. I'm the Planning Services, I'm knocking stuff off the table. Planning Services Manager for the City of Oshkosh. Most of these programs are operated through the Planning Division. Today we kind of have a number of city staff that are going to be giving some presentations on a number of housing programs that we operate here through the city. Anyone who did provide an email address to it, at the end of this we will be sending you a copy of the presentation, some of the other documentation we have here tonight, copy of the chart that you have in front of you. If anyone doesn't have one of the matrices, there is some empty seats that have them that we can grab them and kind of bring them back to you. But we'll also be sending along electronically here this evening. We are recording this presentation so we can distribute it later for anybody that wants to see it. So if you have friends, coworkers, anyone that is interested in it, we'll have the presentation available as well. Kind of just a little bit of how this is going to work tonight. We're going to start with a little bit of a presentation about our programs. At the conclusion of that, we're going to have a Q&A session. Conclusion of the Q&A session, we do have a lot of the applications and program guidelines up here, so if you do have a question you want to ask after the Q&A and come and get something or talk about our programs, staff will be available at the end for that as well. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Kelly Nyforth, our Community Development Director, to give some opening remarks.
Thank you, everybody, for being here today. What a great turnout. We're really excited to showcase the programs that we have here in the city. We had some previous staff members that really had the foresight to put money aside and use other funds very wisely to allocate them for housing programs. One of the goals of the City Council is to really promote home ownership, make sure tenants and renters have a safe place to live, promote new development, and then also, make sure we're preserving our historic properties that we have here in the city. So today you're going to hear about lots of different programs. Some are loans, some are grants, but we're going to hopefully give you an overview of them and see if there's any that might be something that, a resource that you could use in the future. The City of Oshkosh has recently completed a housing study. It was an analysis that we did looking at our housing needs. This is on our website. This is also something maybe we can include in the email. And really what it said is we need more housing. And we need housing from the executive style housing all the way down to the low income housing. So we really have our work cut out for us. The study had a lot of recommendations on how we can achieve that. So this is one of the recommendations, is to take a look at the housing programs that we have here for citizens, residents in our community, and make sure that the programs are usable to you. Market conditions change all the time. So at one time, maybe a grant up to $5,000 was really, really helpful, but the way housing prices are right now, it might not really matter too much. So we took a look at our housing programs, and we have increased a lot of our funding and decreased some of the requirements. So staff is really going to talk about that today. But I just wanted to welcome everybody here today and really thank you for coming out. And please stop by our office at any time, and we're more than willing to talk to you about any of your projects you have here in the City of Oshkosh. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Jeffrey Whitty. He is our principal planner that focuses on housing, and he is going to start to go over the programs.
Thank you, Kelly. So I'm going to throw a lot of information at you, a lot of detailed information, but I think there's some underlying common themes for some of these. These programs are really established to promote workforce housing in the city, which we think is really important. The first program I'm going to introduce to you is our Housing Improvement Loan Program. It's actually been in existence for 40 years. We've worked on over 800 projects, assisting homeowners with home improvements. It's a program where it's a deferred payment loan program. It has 0% interest. You can borrow up to $30,000, and the loan is actually put on the back end of your home mortgage, and it doesn't have to be paid off until you sell the house. And so we take applications every year. They're usually due about March. This is a competitive process. We usually get about 40 to 50 applications, and we have enough funding to do about 12 to 15 projects every year. There's usually an emphasis on exterior projects like siding, roofing. Those are given the highest priority. Here's an example where we did a house where they actually replaced the siding, replaced the porch, and replaced the roofing. We also do a lot of porch improvements. We know there's a big need for that in the city of Oshkosh. And we also funded a lot of internal projects, like a new HVAC system. Some have outdated electrical, foundations, bad plumbing, and even we did a lot of interior flooring stuff. So it has been a very successful program. The one stipulation is that it can't be used for new construction or adding an addition onto the house. So the next projects, the next three programs I'm going to talk about are focused on rehab and repair and down payment assistance on existing housing. Our first program is called our owner occupied. So if you own your own house and you need some rehabilitation work or repair, it's a 15-year loan program. We just increased the maximum amount that you can borrow up to $50,000, and those things can be used for those repairs that I talked about with the roofing and siding and those types of things. We've even had people use them for new garages, replacing driveways, and even installing solar panels, abating lead and asbestos in your house. So all those things are eligible for that. The next project we have is people that own rental property. It's called a rental rehab program. It's for people who, one of the stipulations is that the house has to be built before 1970. That's prevalent in a lot of these programs. And then the owner has to verify the tenant's income when they apply for the loan, that they meet income requirements. These are workforce housing projects, so there's a stipulation that the tenants can only use 30% of their income for housing related expenses. This program is fairly new, but we've used it in the past for our association neighborhoods. So it's called Sold on Oshkosh. So if you're ready to purchase a house and you get an offer to purchase and you go through the home buyer's education program, the city will loan you money that you can put on the back end of your loan that would be forgiven over 5 years. So if you buy a house in one of these designated neighborhoods, right, the city will give you $7,500 in down payment assistance that doesn't have to be paid back if you live in the house for 5 years. And we also just changed the program and increased it citywide. And so citywide, the city will give you $5,000 in down payment assistance. The stipulation is that the house has to be built before 1970. And then again, you can't use more than 30% of your income in housing-related expenses. This year, we started to administer a state program called our Housing Cost Reduction Initiative. And we already helped several families who are income qualified, usually low and moderate income, to help with down payment assistance. So if you buy a house in the city of Oshkosh and your income qualifies for low and moderate income, you could apply for this program. I want to emphasize that this funding for this program is limited. If we don't get funding again from the state, the city will probably take this on for the next year. Now, if you're fortunate enough to own one of the great, the houses in the historic district, we also have a program where we will help you restore the historic property. It's usually focused on the exterior curb appeal, and so this is a matching program, and so it is also in form of a loan, and so the city will match up to $25,000 in funds that you put into it so that you can make your hard-earned dollars work even harder in preserving your historic property. Now, these properties have to be in one of the designated historic districts or an historic property that has been landmarked as significant in the city of Oshkosh. For the developers that are here today and people that want to build their own house, the city of Oshkosh, through the redevelopment authority, have acquired a number of properties, and there are vacant properties that are owned by, vacant lots that are owned by the city of Oshkosh. And so we have a program called our New Homes in Our Neighborhood program, where we're offering a $25,000 grant for, as an incentive to build appropriate infill housing. And we know that, you know, putting utilities and all those other things incur extra costs. And so when you complete the house and you apply for the program, we'll offer a $25,000 grant to help develop these infill lots. I know I threw a lot at you. We have a lot of this information online. If you just Google the City of Oshkosh housing programs, we have our matrix on there. We have our contact information. Feel free to go on there, research that. And if you have any questions, please contact one of us, and we'd be glad to answer any of your questions. So with that, I'm gonna introduce Tom Foytek.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay, as he said, I'm Tom Foytek. I'm Executive Director of Oshkosh Healthy Neighborhoods, and we work to create, sustain, and improve neighborhoods in the city of Oshkosh. We currently have 23 recognized neighborhood associations that were up on the map that Jeff showed earlier. I just want to talk to you about a couple of things. First of all, the Good Neighbor Grant is something that we do through funding partly from the city, but it's largely privately funded. So a Good Neighbor Grant is up to $750 for you to do a curb appeal project in your house. On your property, all you have to do is put down the first $250, and then we will supply up to $750 towards that project. The first year we did it, a couple of years ago, we did 20 grants, and it was so popular that we upped it to 30, and now we're up to 35 this year. We gave out 35 grants. We paid just under $25,000, and over $136,000 worth of improvements were made to the curb appeal of homes that were affected by this. We had over 40 people apply. We were able to give out 35. We have not yet decided how far or how many we're going to be able to give out this current year. We're working on that now. But it is also a very simple process. If you go on our website, and I actually brought a couple sample applications. If afterward anybody wants to see them, I'd be happy to show them to you. It's a one-page application. We ask for certain things from you. Again, it has to be something that's visible from the street in front of your home. It has to be very visible that way, strictly a curb appeal kind of thing. But there's lots of things you could do. But that's an example of a before and after of the kind of thing that we do. We do everything, we support everything from landscaping improvements to working on front doors and front windows to doing decks and porches. Given the current ash tree situation, we've actually helped to pay to have some trees removed, which is kind of a big deal for a lot of people. And there's another project where somebody improved their front steps. But this is a hugely popular program, and it is incredibly simple to apply. As I said, it's one page. What happens is we collect the applications. We have two board volunteers. We have Brandon from the city staff, and I review all the applications, make sure it meets our criteria, and we're often in negotiation with the applicant just to make sure we understand what it is they're doing. But it's very easy to do. When it's all over, we just ask for a copy of the receipts and some before and after photos, and then our accountant cuts you a check and it's done. So it's really a nice program. And then another program I'd like to talk about is Rock the Block. Rock the Block is a wonderful partnership between the City of Oshkosh, Habitat for Humanity, and Oshkosh Healthy Neighborhoods. And what Habitat does is they choose a neighborhood association each year to go in to do projects on behalf of the people that live there. Typically what happens is we advertise the program, and then applications are distributed, and people submit home improvement kinds of things to Habitat for review. They check on the project, and then they get volunteers to do it for free. And we've done 5 so far. The one for this year will be Menominee South neighborhood. There's a couple Menominee South people here. And we have, I believe, over between 30 and 40 projects already approved or households approved to have projects done. It is a marvelous program, and not only is it free to the homeowner, but the projects are done by community volunteers. So a lot of our local businesses and organizations, Amcor, Oshkosh Corporation, other entities, Rotaries help. They come in and actually kind of swarm the project and get it done. And we do it over a period of 4 days in May. So it's really cool the days that it happens. There's all kinds of people walking through the neighborhood just trying to make improvements. Also, as part of the Rock the Block program, we do dumpster days. So there will be, each day that we have the Rock the Block projects taking place, we have a dumpster for people in the neighborhood to bring things, and if you think about it, almost every neighborhood could use one of those, but that's just part of what that project is. It's a wonderful opportunity to get projects done, oftentimes by people that, or for people that are not able to do it themselves. Last year we did Midtown, which is right up just off of Main Street by St. John's Lutheran Church. It was a wonderful program. Habitat actually on their website might have a video that's really cool that you should watch, but one of the people in the house that had a project done for her said she bought a new front door 3 years ago, but she had no way to put it on. And when Rock the Block came, like five people came, within an hour they had her new door up. It sounds kind of silly and stupid, but it really is helpful when you can't do it yourself. So we strongly encourage people to think about this program. And again, it's going to be Menominee South this year, and then we will be looking for another neighborhood association for the future projects. And Habitat's a great organization, and they do wonderful work here. My understanding is that this is a national program, but what makes it unique from the Habitat end is that in most communities, they charge a small fee to the homeowners or to the people that get the projects done. Here, it's completely free. So it's a really nice thing that they do. And then if you have any questions about what I just spoke about, or about how to create a neighborhood association or the Good Neighbor Grant, you can email us at either one of those 2 addresses, and they all go to me, so I will respond to you within 24 hours, I promise. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brandon.
I'll just add one last thing about Rock the Block. It kind of correlates with this next slide. So one last grant here that we have for you tonight is a $500 matching grant, but it has to be done in coordination with something like Rock the Block. So you can see there on the slide, it says it must be done during a neighborhood revitalization event. That doesn't necessarily mean it has to be Rock the Block. If your neighborhood wanted to organize and do a substantial amount of improvements, this could be something that would be available for you. Again, it's a matching grant. If you did a $1,000 project, you could get $500. If you did a $500 project, you'd maybe only get $250. Rock the Block, like Tom said, is a great community event. If any of you are available those dates, I highly encourage you to volunteer. I did it last year. Great experience, and they need volunteers. So, yes. With that, here's our presentation information. Again, I'm Brandon. You had Jeff earlier. You want to talk here, Mark?
I got this.
Okay.
So we're going to go over a little bit of who's here to help answer questions, and shout out some people that helped put us together. We did go through some presentation stuff relatively quick there about our programs, so kind of the goal now is to take questions you have. That was a lot of quick information, and I'm sure you have questions about how some of these programs work, some of the more nuances, the application requirements, the income requirements, so we can start to talk about those kind of questions. Before we get that, I do want to kind of introduce some of the people that are here that help with these programs. So Jeff Whitty, who spoke first, is our principal planner, focuses on housing. Most of these programs fall under his purview to help people through the process, make sure they understand what's going on with them. Rachel Anderson is one of our assistants. She is not here tonight, but she does help facilitate the programs along with Jeff. Ken Gresser is our housing specialist, so if you are undertaking any housing rehab type work, Ken is the individual from our office that actually works directly with the contractors, helps make sure that work is done appropriately, and helps facilitate the projects. Tom Wojtek, who obviously from Go H&I spoke a little bit a while ago. Kelly Nyforth, who I believe did head down, she's still in the back there. Community Development Director, does oversee kind of the programs in its entirety through the Community Development Division. Myself as Planning Services Manager, these programs are directly under my supervision. Big shout out to Ann Schaefer, where'd Ann go? Who helps with all the marketing of the programs, helping put on this event. We couldn't do events like this without Ann's help. She is going to be kind of walking around with a microphone, help us take questions. And then Brandon Nielsen, who does help with the programs, specifically a lot of the Rock the Block stuff. He also is one of our neighborhood planners, so if you are an organized neighborhood association or you're looking at potentially trying to organize as a neighborhood association, Brandon can be a great resource for helping you with that. So with that, we did get a couple of questions sent in ahead of time, so I'm just going to start by answering a couple of those to see the kind of stuff that we're getting for questions and maybe help kind of give some people the time to come up with something they may want to ask. So the first question that we had sent in to us prior to this meeting is, can the funds be used to fix my garage? And the simple answer there is yes. These programs, garages are an eligible expense as long as you do meet the program guidelines and the program income requirements. We can help with garage repairs or garage work. Similarly, one of the questions that we had emailed in is, can you use it to fix your driveway? Again, similarly, yes, driveways are an eligible expense for a lot of these programs, assuming you meet the qualifications for the program. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Ann to see if, does anyone have questions? She can walk the mic around, otherwise I'll keep answering some of the.
So I'm gonna walk around, you get to go on microphone so we can all hear you.
Otherwise, I'm going to keep answering questions. Oh, we got one.
I'm getting my steps in.
I just want to know, what is the 150% household income limit?
So do we have, you got a Ken or you want me to talk? Sure.
For what size house?
It would actually to be repair my garage.
But for the income, we go off of the household size. How many people live in the house?
One.
Oh, it would be 89,250 is the 150%, which would be for the H&I programs.
Can they, like, deconstruct my garage and build a new one? Because it's really, really bad.
Well, it depends on the program. The first program that we talked about was the Community Development Block Grant Program. That program, we could tear down the garages, we just can't construct new. But we would be able to construct new with the H&I loan program, the one that goes up to $50,000.
Where would we find that, the median household limits?
So we do have it available on our website, and we can also send it out as part of the documentation afterwards.
Good evening. Can more than one project, for example, an interior and an exterior project, be on the same application?
Yes, we can handle both interior and exterior works. And now it partly depends on which program you're going through, but there's an opportunity depending upon specific programs to do both.
So my name is Carmen. I came here just to go rah, do this courthouse. We're done. We moved here in March. We found out about it and applied in July. The work was done by Thanksgiving. We did the rehab loan back when it was $30,000, so you can cut the check for the extra 20 now. I know you can up it. We did a driveway. It had been gravel, so we now have a beautiful driveway. We designed a walkway from the garage to the back porch because we were walking in mud. We got all new windows. We got attic insulation. We got cellar insulation, and we got a brand new furnace. We did all that for $30,000. Ken is a saint. First of all, the application is crazy easy. And to tell you how awesome he is, before they cut the check, they have to come and check and make sure the work was done. And he told one of our contractors, you didn't clean up after yourself well enough with the insulation downstairs, come back and clean it up before you get your check. That is how thorough they are. I have never done this before. I cannot tell you how fabulous this program is. You do not pay the money, and I think that's really important to know. I get this question all the time, is you're gonna apply, the hardest part is getting a contractor to show up. That's the hardest part. You're gonna give an estimate. It's probably not gonna be right. Then they're gonna come and give you your 3 estimates. You gotta have a contractor. They prefer 1. I'm a bully, we had 2, because I had reasons. Once it gets started, that check goes to the contractor, not to you, unless you go over. So we went over by a little under 1,000, which I ended up having to pay directly to the contractor. So I think that's what's really awesome about this program. is you're not having to wait forever to be reimbursed. Because that's scary, spending this money and then waiting for that check to never show up. I cannot tell you how awesome this was. And as long as I have the mic, I believe in using other people's money. So I got the neighborhood grant. We did landscaping, and they did a fantastic job. It's easier than he even says. You can do your work yourself on that one versus having a contractor. That's a big difference. Because if you're going to do the sweat equity, you're going to stretch your money. And we also did rock the block because, again, I believe in using other people's money. And the volunteer aspect is great at Rotary, and we always help out. So they're the real deal. They're not making it up. There's no strings attached except you got to follow those guidelines. You do that, I tell you, it will change everything. We're on the 15-year payment. Our utilities, we spend $125 a month. We do it quarterly, and our utilities went down by about $130 a month. So in essence, because of what we did with the furnace and the windows and the insulation, it's basically free money for us because of our utility savings. And with that, I'm going to go to my Zoom meeting and work.
Thanks, Carmen. She's a huge cheerleader. Does anybody else have a question?
Couple. While Ann is walking, Carmen brought up a good point. One of the things with these programs, if you are looking for contractors, they're guaranteed payments to the contractors. If you're approved, you hire the contractor, we're going to pay them directly. And sometimes that can help you in getting contractors when they know there's a guaranteed payment coming from the city as long as they complete the work up to a satisfactory level. The payment comes direct from us to them.
Hi, my question was for the income. Is that gross income? It's gross.
Correct.
Okay, and also for the volunteers for Rock the Block, do you have to have any special skills? So it's an opportunity to learn some skills if I don't qualify for this stuff. All right.
They'll find something for you.
Okay.
You know how to do paintbrush?
Yeah.
Habitat will take all volunteers they can get for that program.
I have a question regarding historic versus healthy neighborhoods. If you're restoring a historic home, materials have to be replaced with like materials?
Correct. So for the historic rehabilitation program, the work has to be done in a historically sensitive nature. So if it is a historically sensitive up to the Department of Interior standards, you can use that historic rehab program, but that is a requirement of the program.
As compared to the healthy neighborhoods, if you have a deck that's wood, you can use composite.
Correct. There is no requirements under that program for the historic nature.
That was easy, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I was just wondering how you would go about volunteering for Rock the Block.
You can go on their website.
If you want to volunteer for Rock the Block, and you should, you just go on their website, they got a little click on their Habitat for Humanity website in order to volunteer. It's right on the front page.
So just Google Rock the Block.
Or, well, Habitat for Humanity Oshkosh or Rock the Block Oshkosh.
Perfect, thank you.
They're very organized.
You guys?
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And their fundraiser is until tomorrow night here. So. Yes.
A little easier. Okay, WPS is going to be through and upgrading a lot of our electrical services, which means about 100 amp service going to go 200 amp. We're now getting quotes, almost finalized, timing-wise. They, at this point, it sounds like my phase will not be until probably July, August. If they change that, and I have to get funds sooner or why, how does that work from a timing standpoint, especially with the contractor?
So depending upon the program, the only program we presently operate that has a hard application deadline is our Community Development Block Grant Home Rehab Program. That is the only one that has a hard deadline of March 15th, Ken? Do I have my date right? March 15th. The other H&I programs for home rehab do not have an application deadline, and those programs run as long as funding remains available for that year. Ken's got a addition.
And a couple more questions.
I just wanted to say for the block grant program where we have the March 15th deadline. We do have some funds set aside for critical repairs, which could include electrical service upgrade, or if your furnace goes out in the winter, sewer laterals, things like that of emergency nature. So we do have some funds, so we would accept applications all year for those.
That's a good point.
I'm just wondering if these grants and loans are typically available every year. If we're not ready this year.
Yes, so based on the funding sources, we do try to operate them every year. Obviously, every year is a little bit different based on what's going on. Our goal is to have them every year. We can say the money has been allocated for 2023. We anticipate it being available for 2024, but we won't know till later in the year during budget season. But our anticipation would be to fund the programs again next year.
Question here, what types of loans are these? Who are the providers? What is used as collateral? And how does that impact if you already have a loan in the house?
Yeah, so there are some stipulations when it comes to those. The loans are done as mortgages by the city of Oshkosh. The collateral is basically the value in the home. We do have a maximum home to value ratio we will not loan over, which is 100% of home to value ratio. So if you already have an existing mortgage on a relatively newly purchased home, some of these programs may not work, but we, trying to think what other, you asked a number of things there. Did I catch all of them or not?
I guess the impact of a pre-existing home, if that's considered a lien on the house, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we will do loans on second place on the mortgage. So if there's already a primary mortgage on the home, we will take second place again, as long as we don't go over that 100% loan to value ratio. We usually will not go any lower than that, because typically if we're going lower than that, the home to value ratio is probably not there.
Anybody else with questions you want to, oh, I'm coming on up. And then I'm going to remind people, if I didn't get your email and that means if I didn't send you a confirmation, will you please stop at the table when you leave and give me your email address?
So,
thank you. I was wondering, for folks who haven't yet purchased a home but are looking to do that, there's obviously a laundry list of things they need to do. Where does the housing cost reduction and the Sold on Oshkosh program, if they qualify, fit in that list of things that they need to do when buying their first home?
So typically, we're going to encourage you to do home buyer. I'm going to look at Ken for the exact wording. What's the home buyer counseling? So they can help you learn a little bit about the process for home buying. Once you've completed that and you're working with your realtor and you find a home and have an accepted offer on that home, is then when you come to the city and we can assist you with one of the programs that may work for you if you qualify. But I really encourage you that home buyer education, if you're a first-time home buyer, is a huge asset.
You can do that online.
Go ahead.
You can actually do that online. Or also, NeighborWorks out of Green Bay has sessions. All you have to do is make sure that they're HUD-approved.
I'll try to include this in a follow-up email.
While Ann looks, we have another question. We have a couple more that were sent in ahead of time. One question was asked us, I'm having a hard time finding contractors. Do you have a list of contractors? We do have a list of licensed insured contractors that have done work in the programs in the past. Obviously, we cannot make any recommendations on contractors, but we can tell you, hey, in 2022, here are contractors that pulled permits for programs associated with this.
Oh, I see someone over.
My name's Walken, I'll do one more. Another question we got is, can you use more than one program?
So the answer to that is yes and no. Yes, you can use more than one program as long as they are different styles of programs. You can't use, for example, Sold on Oshkosh and the housing cost reduction program. They're both down payment assistances. You're only eligible for one of those. But you could do Sold on Oshkosh to purchase a home, depending upon if you had some equity you're putting into it. Also then do a home rehab loan, so maybe some additions or changes you wanted to do once you purchase the home. Again, we have to make sure the loan to value ratio is there when you're doing that, but that is an option.
Do you know if you could use either the Sold on Oshkosh or the housing cost reduction in tandem with state programs like WIDA?
I would have to check. I'm not sure off the top of my head on that one, but oh, the answer is yes.
Open stack, absolutely. Yes, you can partner them with WIDA easier than FHA or most conventional loans. WIDA is meant to partner with programs. Sorry, real estate professional here. Yes, you can absolutely stack them, and actually, when you go to a bank, a lot of the banks offer down payment assistance as well. And when you go through the down payment assistance program through a lender, like you're just qualifying for a loan, they send you to that housing counselor intentionally on purpose. And then as soon as you go through that, they're like, hey, you qualify for this down payment assistance through the bank. By the way, you would also qualify through all of these programs in your local neighborhood, depending on what house you buy. They qualify for you for all of this stuff. So a lot of times, even just getting the process of starting to talk to a lender, which I'm not a lender, but if you get started to that process, a lot of this stuff starts happening automatically. And I have taken advantage of a lot of these programs. My bank gave me like 10 grand down. The housing authority gave me $9,000 down. You guys gave me like another $10,000 to replace my furnace. Then somebody else from the housing authority came along and replaced my lead-based paint. I mean, holy smokes, they threw like 60 grand at me. It was crazy. Didn't ask for it, they just threw it at me, and the house has been a dream ever since, so thank you very much. Good job, guys. And are any of these the housing authority ones, or this is totally different stuff?
These are all City of Oshkosh programs only.
Holy crap, so you can partner some of these with the housing authority, just so you know. There's more out there, there's a lot more out there.
Go ahead and network after this, great idea.
And for anyone who is here from like any of the lenders or any of the realtors, I do really want to point out when we were talking about the down payment assistance sold on Oshkosh, really new for this year is the fact that it is now citywide. This program previously was only within recognized neighborhood associations at $5,000. This year, for the first time, we're broadening that. In a neighborhood, you get $7,500. Citywide, any house in the city, if you're not in a neighborhood, you're still qualified for that $5,000. So that really is opening it up to a lot more potential properties in the city.
For the home buying system programs, you said to apply for them after being accepted offer. How long does the application process take?
We usually get it done within 30 days.
Okay, so do they know the answer to it before that 30 days?
Yes, yep. There's some income qualification stuff we have to do with you. As soon as you would get an accepted offer, I would contact us immediately. We can start that process to see if you qualify or not, to get it done before your closing date.
I was wondering, could you just go over really quick what the biggest differences are in the housing improvement loan and the owner-occupied rehab loan, and what is priority neighborhood and
So the primary difference between these two programs is the funding source we use to operate them and the income eligibility requirements. The owner-occupied rehab has different program eligibility requirements in terms of income versus the housing improvement loan program. The housing improvement loan program is operated through HUD, through our community development block grant, and has very specific income thresholds. You have to meet those or you do not qualify for the program. The owner-occupied rehab program that we operate through our Healthy Neighborhoods initiative still has income requirements, but they're a little less specific the way HUDs are. That one is really you cannot spend more than 30% of your gross monthly income on housing-related expenses. So we say housing-related expenses, we mean mortgage, utilities, taxes, insurance. Did I get all of them? That program then does have that income cap as well. You can't spend more than you can't make more than 150% of the median county income to qualify for that program. Yep. So for the housing improvement loan program, which I think that's the one we're talking about, right? That has that. The funding source and the way HUD works is programs are ranked. That one's the one that has the application cycle of March 15th. All the applications come in, and the way the funding source works is if you're in an LMI neighborhood, you are given priority in that program. That program is operated, we basically start going down the list, the number one priority based on the HUD qualifications, money to them, and we just go down the list till we run out of money in the program. LMI is low and moderate income based on the block grant stipulations.
And a lot of people that get approved are citywide.
Yeah, yep, as Ken just mentioned, just because it says LMI priority, projects every year get approved throughout the city, not just necessarily in an LMI targeted census tract.
On the renter occupied loans, if I was if I own several rental properties, can I use that on multiple properties?
Yes, only one at a time can qualify. So you can only go through one loan process at a time. For that program, I do really want to point out that there are income eligibility requirements, and it's either income eligibility of the owner of the property or income eligibility of the tenants. One of the two do have to qualify to utilize that program.
And what's the best way to go about that, applying for that? Would it be the renter? The renter wouldn't apply, but the actual owner of the house would?
We typically want the owner to apply because the mortgage is going to go against your property as the owner. And then we do the income qualification of tenants if you have income qualified tenants. If you're interested in that, really talk to Ken. We can kind of help you through it.
I don't own rental properties, but it's a good question. I'm actually a contractor that has done several of these for you guys already.
Can you talk about your experience working with our programs?
Yeah, sure.
I'm putting them on the spot a little bit.
I don't know if you heard that, but I'm actually a contractor that has done several of these projects for the city, for homeowners. Carmen actually that spoke up and was cheerleading back there. I did most of the work on her house, and so I, as a contractor, I've had a very good experience. Ken is really easy to work with. He has, there's been things that I've missed that he's come back and said he just, keeping him abreast of what's going on the project. He's good at communicating back with start times on projects and communicating with, helping me communicate between the homeowner. So I've had a good experience with it. As long as you cross your T's and dot your I's and the work's done correctly, then you get a check within a couple of weeks usually. The city, they want to give this money away, they want to get these projects done, and I will say that I have talked to many people that's the hardest thing is finding a contractor to do the work, get bids out. Hopefully this isn't going to make my phone blow up tomorrow, but I do have some cards in my pocket, so you can come up and see me. But I didn't come here to advertise, really. I just came here because I want to be able to answer questions when I get a call to go out to an appointment to see a customer. I want to be able to answer some of these questions, and also, if I give someone a bid on a project, I want to, and they're like, well, that's a lot of money. I want to be able to say, well, here's this grant, and this grant, and this grant that you could possibly apply for. So I was doing this more for my customers. I just want to have as much information for them as I can. I appreciate it. It's a good program, and I wanted to try to get more involved in it and do more of them. That's kind of a staffing issue with me, as if you know, it's kind of hard to get people in the skilled trades right now. So, but I do have a good crew, and I'm very thankful for the people that I have. But I would like to grow and be able to facilitate more of these jobs. Anything you want, build you a house from the ground up, or remodel, or anything. We got Duncan's Window and Door and Duncan's Heritage Construction. You can Google it. I'm on any social media and wherever you can find me pretty easy.
Okay, your phone's gonna blow up.
Got a couple of questions back here.
So one question that came in, kind of as she's walking back there, is we did have a question come in about what is the redevelopment authority's relationship with the city, and what do you mean by infill lot? So redevelopment authority is a quasi-governmental entity. They're not directly part of the city, but state statute kind of sets them up as a relationship with the city. They're not directly part of us, but they work closely with us. They're staffed partly through the city. What they do is they do some programs where they buy up dilapidated or vacant houses that need to come down. They tear them down and they have vacant lots. The city then resells those lots for infill development, which is where the new homes in our neighborhood program that we talked about comes in. To qualify for the new homes in your neighborhood program, it does have to be on one of those previous lots that was owned by the RDA, meaning they acquired it, they took down the house that was there, and now we resell that lot and help facilitate a new home being built on it.
For the renter-occupied rehab loan, you said before that the income qualification can be for the owner or the tenants. Does that mean I have to have tenants in the property, like with an active lease, while I'm doing the work?
We have been able to do the loans without that, but then you do have to provide documentation that the tenants you get meet the income qualifications.
Okay, so if I'm doing work in preparation to be able to make it safe for tenants, I can still apply?
Correct. First, I just wanted to say thank you for tonight. This is a lot of really good information for us to have. The second thing is, can I have a card from the gentleman in the front, please?
Other questions? We did have one more that came in ahead of the meeting tonight, and someone asked, they've already done work, can they use these programs to cover previously done work? And unfortunately, the answer to that is no. It does have to be work that is done once the program is applied for and approved. We cannot cover previous work done.
Okay, who's got their hand
Second,
up?
ready. Second.
Okay, over you, sorry.
Does the down payment assistance qualify if someone's doing a rent to own or a land contract?
It's a great question. I don't know if we have dealt with that situation yet.
I feel fortunate.
Yeah, and you win the award for a question we couldn't answer. We'll have to look into it. It's not something we've dealt with previously.
Regarding those vacant city-owned lots, we are part of a neighborhood association that would like to do some kind of neighborhood green space / park with one of those. Can any of these programs be applied towards those type of costs, or is there something else we can do with that?
No, none of these programs would be eligible for that. They're all housing-based programs, and the funding sources that are used to fund these are all about improving and adding affordable workforce housing to the city.
Was that something we could talk with Tom about as far as if there's something the HNI could do for that?
I know that, questioner. This is something we should talk about, actually, because it's not just the Midtown neighborhood. There are other neighborhoods that have some similar kinds of situations. I think we have to kind of work with the city and negotiate what the possibilities might be, because we have a school that's going to be closing. There's going to be some green space there in another neighborhood association. There's nothing firm, but that is something we will work on, yes.
Yeah, if there's something that neighborhood is interested in doing, I think definitely start a conversation between the city and Go HNI, and we can look if there are available options for it. These programs specifically may not work, but we can maybe try to come up with a unique solution for something else.
Okay, last call. We just want to thank everyone, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, everyone, for coming. Like I said, staff is going to be up here. We have brochures for a lot of the programs that have a lot more information in them than we showed you tonight. So if you have questions, you want to, oh, we got one more question, Ann. It'd probably be quicker for me to walk the mic to you.
I was just going to answer that gentleman's question about the parks. There are community development block grants. If you Google CDBG-PF for public facilities, there's a community development block grant that's meant specifically for public facilities, and you can get that through HUD.gov and then get your own grant. That's all.
Any other questions? Like I said, you have brochures and applications and a lot of the documentation up here to give you a lot more in-depth information about these programs. If you want to come up, grab something you want, specific questions you want to ask, when you look at it, feel free. Staff will be around for a while. And finally, thanks for coming.